I never imagined a single phone call could change my life so drastically. It was from a friend, a fellow expat in Singapore, who raved about her maid, Rena. "She's a lifesaver, really," she said. "After so many disasters with helpers, Rena has been a godsend. You should hire her. She's just left us because we're moving." Desperate for help with my 2 young kids and an increasingly hectic job, I decided to meet her. Rena arrived at my home on a sunny morning. She was polite, her manner calm and composed, and she seemed genuinely eager to be part of our household. Within days, I saw what my friend had meant. Rena slipped into our lives seamlessly. She was efficient, discreet, always one step ahead of my needs. The house sparkled, the children adored her, and my husband, Dan, often commented on how lucky we were to have found someone like her. At first, I brushed off the subtle changes I began to notice. Dan came home earlier, suddenly interested in family dinners. He praised her cooking with an enthusiasm I hadn't seen in years. "Rena's chicken curry is better than any restaurant's," he would say, his eyes gleaming as he went for seconds. I laughed it off, feeling grateful we had a helper who made our lives easier. But then, there were the small, unsettling details. A hint of perfume, faint but noticeable, clung to his shirts. I once found her necklace on the arm of the couch, and when I asked, she casually said she must have taken it off while cleaning. The ease with which she dismissed it put my suspicions at bay for a while. One evening I came home early from a work meeting that had been abruptly cancelled. The house was quiet, the kind of eerie silence that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. I walked into the living room and froze. There they were, on the couch where our kids had watched cartoons, where we had celebrated birthdays and Christmases. A moment I could never unsee. Dan and Rainer wrapped in each other, his hand on her waist, her head on his shoulder, their intimacy unmistakable. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. "What the hell is going on?" I heard myself scream, the words tumbling out before I could think. They jumped apart, both their faces stricken, but the guilt in their eyes confirmed everything. Dan stammered out a confession that felt like a knife twisting in my gut. They'd been seeing each other for months. He claimed it had started as innocent conversations, how she had been so understanding, so supportive during a tough time at work. And then it just happened. I felt like I was drowning in his words, gasping for air as the ground crumbled beneath me. I threw her out that night, the betrayal burning a hole through me. But the damage was done. My marriage, my family, the life we had built was in ruins. The divorce was swift and brutal, Dan moving in with Rena the very next month. I was left to pick up the pieces, to explain to my children why Daddy wasn't coming home anymore. But the story didn't end there. A few weeks after the dust had settled, I received an unexpected message from a woman I had never met. "I'm so sorry this happened to you," it read. "Rena did the same to my family. We met for coffee, and she told me everything. Rena had been their maid too, slipping into their lives just as she had mine. She had seduced her husband, fractured their family, then moved on to another household. It was a pattern. One family after another, she would gain their trust, seduce the husband, and then when she had what she wanted, she would leave, disappearing with cash, valuables, even blackmailing some of the men to keep quiet. It hit me like a punch to the stomach. I was just one in a line of victims. This wasn't about love or affection. It was a sick, calculated game, a strategy. She would target families like mine, where she could slip into the cracks of a marriage, exploit weaknesses, and tear it apart from the inside. As the stories of other families flooded in, I felt a dark, cold fury. We were more than just a line of broken hearts and broken homes. We were the wreckage left in the wake of a predator, a woman who knew exactly how to manipulate her way into our lives. I went to the police armed with the testimonies of other victims. But with no hard evidence of theft or blackmail, they said there was little they could do. It was infuriating. There she was, continuing her pattern, moving from one family to another, leaving devastation in her wake. And no one could stop her. It took me a long time to rebuild my life, to trust again. But I learned a valuable, bitter lesson. Not all dangers are obvious. Some wear the mask of a friend, a helper, someone you think is there to make your life easier. Always trust your instincts and never ignore the small signs, no matter how insignificant they seem. Rena taught me that even the kindest faces can hide the darkest intentions. To anyone out there, guard your home, your heart, and your family fiercely. Because sometimes, the person you trust the most is the one who will tear your life apart. Be vigilant and trust your instincts. Don't ignore subtle changes in behavior or brush off your suspicions. Sometimes, the real threat is the one you've welcomed into your home.